Well, g'day, and welcome back again to Jiaoqing. And today you find us, we're down here by one of these smaller lakes down here, sort of on the western side of the main lake. And let's spin this camera around and give you a little look. So we're actually going to take a little stroll around this lake, which is a beautiful little spot, some really nice houses over the other side of the lake here, and then we're going to end up in a park over the other side. So yeah, we're just going to take a stroll around here while we have a little talk. So a couple of videos back we answered a viewer question about the party, meaning I think he meant the Communist Party. And I explained that there are other parties around and stuff. And I said we'll dig a little bit and find out what else we can find. So we've done that. We've done a little bit of digging, and so we use DeepSeek to bring up this information. I've got basically two questions I asked. So we're going to go through them and the answers I received. And then the original commenter, I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but he had a follow-up comment which I'm going to respond to as well, because yeah, it was a comment that I can sympathize with your feelings. So let's bring the phone up here and right, we'll open up DeepSeek and we'll have a look here. So the first question I asked: apart from the Communist Party in China, what other political parties are there in China, and how would you describe each of their party political platforms? So here's the answer, and I will stop and give my personal thoughts as we go through if things pop up. So yeah, we'll see how we go. So in China, apart from the Communist Party of China, or CPC, there are 8 other political parties, collectively known as the Democratic parties. These parties participate in the political system under the leadership of the CPC as part of the multi-party cooperation and political consultation system. They do not function as opposition parties, but rather as consultative bodies that contribute to governments and policy making through the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference, CPPCC, and other channels. Here is an overview of each Democratic Party and their general political platforms. So as we go through these, and the next question, there are going to be Chinese names that I'm probably going to butcher. So I apologize in advance, but we'll do the best we can. So first one, number 1, the Chinese Committee of the Chinese Kuomintang, or RCCK, formed in 1948 by former members of the Kuomintang who opposed Chiang Kai-shek. Chiang Kai-shek, if I remember rightly, was the leader of the nationalists during the Chinese Revolution. Key focus: promotes peaceful reunification with Taiwan, patriotism and socialist modernization. Membership: mostly descendants of Kuomintang members, intellectuals and business people. I don't know where they're based. I don't know where any of these are based, so yeah, if there's interest, we'll follow up more. Just actually, we'll get a little bit further. Okay, number 2, the China Democratic League, or CDL, founded 1941, represents intellectuals in education, culture and science, advocates for education reform, scientific development and cultural advancement. Membership: mainly academics, educators and professionals. Number 3, the China Democratic National Construction Association, founded 1945. Key focus: represents entrepreneurs, economists and private business owner, focuses on economic policy, private sector development and market reforms. Membership: business leaders, economists and financial experts. Number 4, China Association for Promoting Democracy, CAPD. Founded 1941, concentrates on education, publishing and cultural affairs, advocates for education policy improvements and cultural development. Membership: educators, writers and publishers. Right, we're just going to swap our hands over here because just as we're walking around, I just want to get the camera over this side and have a look at these houses behind us here. They all look brand spanking new, but they're all unlived in by the look of it. I can't see any sign of life up in any of these places, but they do look really, really nice. Yeah, that'd be a not a bad spot to live up there, I reckon, with these views behind us. Looking out over the lake, that'd be a splendid spot to be located. Okay, carrying on. Party number 5, the Chinese Peasants and Workers Democratic Party, CZGP. Founded 1930. Focuses on healthcare, environmental protection and rural development, promotes public health reforms and sustainable development. Membership: medical professionals, environmentalists and agricultural experts. China Zhigong Party, CZGP, founded 1925, so this is the oldest one so far, I think, from memory. Key focus: represents overseas Chinese and returned expatriates, advocates for policies benefiting diaspora communities and promoting international exchange. Membership: overseas Chinese, returnees and their families. Number 7, the Jiusan Society. That's JIUSAN Society. Founded 1945. Key focus: composed mainly of scientists and technologists, advocates for scientific innovation, technological progress and higher education reforms. Membership: scientists, engineers and academics in STEM fields. STEM being, I don't remember. Science, mathematics, engineering, and T. What would T be? Technology? I can't remember. And number 8, Taiwan Democratic Self-Government League, founded 1947. Key focus: represents Taiwanese compatriots on the mainland, promotes cross-strait exchanges and peaceful reunification. Membership: Taiwanese expatriates and their descendants. Okay, so that's the parties themselves, but it carries on. Role in China's political system. These parties do not compete for power, but cooperate with the CPC under the framework of multi-party cooperation and political consultation. They participate in the CPPCC, offer policy suggestions and have representatives in the National People's Congress and local governments. Their primary role is to advise and assist the CPC in governments rather than act as opposition forces. Conclusion: China's democratic parties are specialized groups representing different sectors of society, contributing expertise in areas like education, healthcare, economics and cross-strait relations. While they do not hold independent political power, they play a consultative role in China's unique socialist political system under the leadership of the CPC. So, there's the parties and a basic thing of what they do. My next question then was, how do the parties work together? A lot of Western countries have very combative parties. Are Chinese parties more cooperative when working together? And the answer, this is quite a long one. Yes, China's political parties operate in a fundamentally different way compared to the combative adversarial party system seen in many Western democracies. In China, the multi-party cooperation and political consultation system ensures that all parties work collaboratively under the leadership of the Communist Party of China, CPC, rather than competing for power. Here's how they work together. So, number one, cooperative rather than combative politics. No opposition parties. Unlike in Western systems where parties compete in elections to form a government, China's 8 democratic parties do not challenge the CPC's leadership. Instead, they serve as advisory and consultative bodies. Shared goals. All parties agree on the broader socialist framework and national development goals set by the CPC, focusing on economic growth, social stability and national rejuvenation. Okay, number 2, key mechanisms for cooperation. A. Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference, CPPCC. The CPPCC is a key platform where all political parties, non-party elites and interest groups discuss major state policies before they are finalised. Democratic parties submit proposals, policy suggestions and criticisms on issues like economic reform, healthcare and education. While their input is advisory, many proposals are adopted into policy if deemed beneficial. B. Participation in governance. Some members of democratic parties hold leadership positions in government, although always under CPC guidance. For example, here's another of these Chinese names. 1. Exiang, I'm not sure. Exiang, E-X-I-A-N-G. From the Revolutionary Committee of Kuomintang, served as Vice Chairman of the NPC Standing Committee. They also have representatives in the National People's Congress, NPC, though the CPC holds the majority. C. Direct consultations with the CPC. The CPC holds regular meetings with Democratic Party leaders to discuss major policies. For example, the 5-year plan, anti-corruption campaigns. These discussions are constructive, focusing on improving policies rather than partisan disputes. Differences from Western party systems. So, relationship between parties. China's system, cooperative, consultative. Western multi-party systems, competitive, adversarial. Roles of opposition. China, no formal opposition, all parties support CPC leadership. Opposition and Western opposition parties challenge the ruling party. Policy making process. China, consensus-based, CPC-led with input from other parties. Western, often contentious with party rivalries delaying decisions. Elections. CPC always leads, other parties participate in advisory roles. Western multi-party systems, parties compete in elections to gain power. Okay, so number 4, why this system works in China. Stability and control. Avoids political gridlock seen in some democracies where parties block each other's policies. Yeah, I've talked about this before, the high-speed rail here. If they had a system of governance like Australia, they wouldn't have high-speed rail. we've been talking in Australia, the political leadership and whatnot have been talking in Australia about building high-speed rail up and down the east coast, Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne, for as long as I can remember. And we, after, well, I don't know, 40, 50 years of talk, we currently have 0 kilometres of high-speed rail in Australia. Here, it gets done. Expertise-driven governance. Democratic parties contribute specialised knowledge, e.g. scientists in the Geosan Society advising on tech policy. Yeah, so as you listen to all the different the different parties, you realise that pretty much everything, all the different sectors of society are pretty well covered. Healthcare, education, technology, business, expats. Everybody's got a voice. National unity prevents divisive partisan conflicts, ensuring focus on long-term development. Conclusion, Chinese political system is consensus-based with all parties working together under CPC leadership. While Western systems often see parties fighting for power, China's model emphasises consultation, cooperation and collective decision-making. This approach prioritises stability and efficient governance over political competition. So we have groups of people down here playing cards behind us, enjoying the much cooler weather actually. It's much cooler today than it has been. We've still got this typhoon moving away. But yes, it's nice out here for a walk today actually. So yeah, there we go. The political system here is built in a way that encourages cooperation, consultation, all that sort of stuff. Very evidence-based policy stuff that you see happening here. There's very little, if anything, that I would say is very little policies that happen here that I would call emotional stuff. You look at parties in the West, a lot of right-wing parties are very, the big one that's been the big talking point in America recently has been trans issues. And the arguments are very, very unscientific. I don't know that trans issues has ever been a thing in China. I don't know that they've ever really talked about it. I don't think it's ever been an issue here. People just live their lives, and if that's what they want to be, they'll be that. Who cares? But yeah, most policies here are developed after a lot of consultation, a lot of talk, a lot of research, and that is why the country is doing so well here. I really wish a lot of other Western governments, instead of just routinely criticizing China and often criticizing China on information which is based on lies, would actually step back, have a look at China and maybe learn something from them, because it's not the horrible, terrible place that people are given the impression it is. I never really believed a lot of the stuff that I'd heard about China, but even then I was still surprised at how wrong I still was with a lot of stuff that I believed on coming here. it's pretty horrid that we can be lied to so effectively by the people that we should be able to trust who are running our countries. But, you know, that's the way it goes with these combative systems that we have in the West. I'm not going to say China's system's perfect. There's things that I would look at changing if I was in power, but overall I think they're doing a pretty damn good job, and the things that I would change would be very, very small things. I don't know that I would want a democratic system in the same way that we have democratic systems in the West, because it does hold up development. Like I mentioned with the high-speed rail, you know, someone will draw up a plan in Australia for East Coast high-speed rail, then we have an election, the government changes, and the plans are all scrapped, it's just thrown away. And the next party decides they want to do it their way, and we have to start all over again. Yeah, I think there are definitely advantages to what we have here in China. Undoubtedly there are disadvantages as well, but we're going to leave sort of that part of the video there, and we're going to go in and have a look at this follow-up comment that we got. So who was this again? BMK8018. So we'll go through this comment bit by bit and respond to it as we go. So thanks for answering the question. Lately I've been getting more curious about how China actually works, the nuts and bolts, not just the surface stuff. I know some things are similar to our systems, but there's this growing sense in the West that our governments aren't really working for ordinary people anymore. Personally, I've become pretty politically apathetic and have started looking at what other models of government might offer. So let's pause there and talk about that. Yeah, becoming politically apathetic, I can understand that. I do believe that most parties in the West are not looking out for the ordinary bloke, ordinary girl out on the street. It's all self-interest. I always had this idea that if I ever stood for a position in government in Australia, you know, if I ever ran for an election to get a seat in Parliament, the way I would like to be doing it is set up a website, and every voter who lives in my district can use their whatever tax file number or social security number or whatever ID we have to log into this site, and everybody gets to have a say on everything that I'm going to vote on. So if we're voting on, you know, changing, I don't know, the school system, everybody gets a vote, and if they vote no, I vote no in Parliament. If they vote yes, I vote yes in Parliament, even if I disagree with it. There are some things that I wouldn't do that with. So was it just before or just after? I can't remember. Around the time I came to China, Australia had a vote on gay marriage, which went through, and it's now legal for gays to marry in Australia. I don't think I would have given people a choice on that. I think I would have voted my conscience, which would have been to say, yes, let them get married. Because I think a lot of people who were against gay marriage were against it because of religious views. And unless you can actually come up with a scientific, provable reason why it's bad for gays, lesbians to get married, your idea is just an opinion. And if you don't like the idea of gay marriage, don't marry a gay. It's very simple. You know, it's just crazy. And other things, you know, national defense sort of stuff is maybe not the realm where you want people to have a say. But my idea would be everybody in my electorate gets a say in policies that are affecting them in the electorate that we live in. Okay, carrying on here. That's why I asked about how party members interact with the public. I was genuinely wondering whether they see the people as a burden or if there's a real sense of duty to serve. Or is it just a job they coast through before moving on to something cushier like lobbying? Well, as far as I know, there is no lobbying in China. Certainly not lobbying like you see in the West. And I think it is a duty thing here. It's a different cultural idea of how community should work here. We did a video last year, it must have been last year, over in Yunfu about what's the name of the company? The Wenxia company. I think that's it. Or Wen's. I can't remember. But this is a big food production company. And they are based in Yunfu. Now Yunfu is a small sort of town, you know, Sing Sing, can't remember how many people are there, a couple 100,000. It's very, very small by Chinese standards. And this company, I'm sure, could go and be somewhere else where they're going to have easier access to shipping and transport, save a lot of costs and make more money. But they stay where they are. Why do they stay where they are? Because the owner and founder of the company comes from Sing Sing, and he has a sense of duty to his community, so he stays there. He's not interested in going somewhere else, which I really like that. This company pumps a lot of money into the local community, a lot of community projects and stuff. Not because they have to, but because they feel that sense of duty. And I think the politicians here are very, very much the same. You know, you hear things said in the West about the politicians here all being corrupt and stuff. Yeah, I remember those criticisms years back. And then Xi Jinping came in, cleaned up the corruption, got rid of the corrupt politicians that people were complaining about, and then he gets criticized for just being out to eliminate his political rivals. I'm sorry, but he got rid of his political rivals not because they were political rivals, but because they were corrupt. What, he should leave corrupt rivals in their positions of power? No thanks. That was just... people who just want to criticize China are so two-faced. They just have such contradictory positions. And no, most of them don't move on to other positions. Most people, once they start working in government, they tend to stay in government for their whole career. China is the sort of place where people do tend to not change careers very much. They get their career, and once you're 10 years into your career, you're sort of up the ladder a bit. And it can be very, very hard here to step out of that and go and have to start again somewhere else. You know, I've been in my school now for, what, over 8 years. Most of the teachers there that I work with were there, what, 20 years ago when my mother came to China. Most of the teachers that I work with know my mother because they worked with her. So that, you know, a lot of the teachers have been there 20 plus years. They don't tend to rotate workers and staff very often. It's pretty bloody amazing. And carrying on with the comment here, final part of this comment. I know that sounds cynical, but it's becoming increasingly more how I feel. Anyway, I really appreciate your insights. You're the one of the few sources I trust to talk about what's actually happening in China, not just the headlines. Well, thanks for your trust. I would say don't trust me explicitly, because a lot of what I talk about is my observations and what I see. And you know, your eyes can deceive you. Not everything I say is going to be accurate, but it is my perception of things. I do try and be as accurate as I can. When we're talking about stuff like the parties, I do try and do a bit of research and find information. But when we're just walking around looking at stuff, there's stuff that I'll see that I'll think is one way, and then later I find out, no, it's actually something else. There was a place, where was it? It was one of the places here in Jiaoqing, I think it was actually. I found this place and we did a video on it way back, and I thought it was some sort of a temple for, you know, people to go and worship at. And it turns out it wasn't. It was a, what did they call it? A ancestral hall. So, you know, it's a family sort of thing that, you know, belongs to a family group within that area. So, you know, there are things I'm going to get wrong. So don't just blindly trust what I say. Like I say, it is my thoughts and it is my understandings of things. As I'm here longer, I get new understandings, new insights, and I learn a bit more. So as we do that, we'll try and keep things updated so that people know, or people can learn along with me. But yeah, thanks for well, both of your comments. A number of people also commented when we talked about the parties, wanting to know more. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this more. Like, share, subscribe, all that stuff. Questions and comments. If you want to know more, ask more questions. If you've got other things that maybe I didn't think to ask in DeepSeek, send your questions and I'll ask more stuff. I don't mind doing that at all. Oh, okay, so this park that we've just walked through, we've actually got some stuff here. So this is Banyuhu Community Sports Park. What have we got here? Don't lean against the fence, spiked shoes prohibited, no drying clothes, no damage of plants, no lying on benches. On and on it goes. No hawking, no gambling, no pets allowed. So yeah, rules, rules, rules. So yeah, as I was saying, questions, comments, down there in the comment section. You know, I do try and follow up when people have an interest in learning more. I do try and find stuff out for you and introduce you to some more stuff. And as always, if there's something you would like to know about life here in China, in Guangdong, especially here in Jiaoqing, hit us up down there in the comment section again. If you come up with a good idea for a video, I'll go away, do the research, and as we've done here, I'll make a video for you. Also, Facebook, a Scot in China. Come and join the group. We're gonna, we're slowly building up a few numbers there, but yeah, hopefully we can get some conversations going between followers and stuff there, and we can all help each other learn. But for now, thanks for watching, everybody. Stay safe, and we will see you all in the next one. Cheers.